Moba in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. His spoken word storytelling name is Zomkhonto, which happens to be his bloodline's totem. He is an arts educator, youth mentor, qualified community services worker, grassroots community organizer, and mental wellness advocate. Awesome. He considers himself an Afro empath and is driven to ensure that people find joy and healing in the power of words and storytelling. One of the recent publications he has appeared in includes Colossus, Body of Mythology of the South, by Colossus Press, which defends the rights of women to have autonomy over their own bodies. Yes. His work was also recently showcased at the World Poetry Slam Championship spoken word video presentations in Brussels, Belgium. He is on the board of directors for Literary Arts Windsor, Canada. Please welcome Zomkhonto.
How beautiful you are today is an extra that happened because I decided to dedicate today to my grandma. Everything that I've ever done has always been about my grandma. And she passed a few months ago. But if you wish to know about my grandma, she is a grand piano whose keys accompany sopranos of angels from the tips of their lips into the most secret chambers of heaven. The rhythm carried to the tune of her feet rising and falling, a tune carried across the sky like a bridal train, whispering incantations of her tribal name. The one used by her ancestors before this world came to know her simply as Esther. I imagine her learning how to answer to it. Esther. Esther. A name that she inhabits but cannot spell. Which is good as well because names are spells, and that name, which is not of her culture's own, if it carried the shame of its own ancestry, it will not get to her or bleed down to me. But I researched it to strip it of any perversions and found that in Persia, her name was Hadassah, and that Esther was a queen. So although she cannot spell it, it is by no accident that royalty is what it means, Esther. I imagine every time she closed her eyes and rehearsed it, Esther, Esther, Esther. Because naming an African child is an initiation. It is a ritual that awakens the invisible cord that remains intact after the placenta is severed and neatly pegged into a blanket and buried in the brown earth at the foot of a giant tree. That way, the child's first cry is imprisoned by that tree's roots, even if the fruit of that tree chooses to gossip about its leaves. And in case demons of the night steal it and make rainstorms out of its purity. I imagine that my grandmother's birth was attended by midwives with gemstones for eyes, sapphire stones for nipples, and breasts that hang like the pendant of the mountain spirits. Those say to her portals that lead straight to the front steps of every planet known to the universe. She knows wisdom by the feel of its skin. She has run her fingers like a pianist along the spine of time, a spine so vast like that of a matriarch elephant as she moves silently. Vast like piano keys made of ebony and ivory, composing the songs that pass underneath 3 generations of black skin, the royal matriarch from the house of Swazi, Magagula, Dombeni, Chwalamidela, Kojela, Bashalilinda, Zomkhonto, Tunjwane, Mzilanhliziyo, Msutu. Your praise names are the blood that courses in my veins. Traveling pathways that raise the fires that bring warmth to my skin. I imagine your shadow follows you religiously and even keeps your secrets intimately, like why you wake up at 4 a.m. to pray to strangers in wars, soldiers in coffins, emaciated children who will never know the love of a grandmother. You are a whirlwind of possibility. Magagula. Your smile is God's favorite memory, Magagula. You are the music that you play, the conductor and the sound, the singer and the audience, and an entire population in one human being. The melody to which each morning sings, the soundtrack to the rising sun. Bayete! Ulale ngokuthula. Rest in peace. Rest in power. Magagula. So this woman, this woman was the beginning of education. Because, there's education, then there's learning. And this is one of the professors of my life, my grandmother, may God rest her soul, that showed me exactly what it is to miseducate a child. Because to miseducate a child is to miss the chance to create something so wild in its imagination. Something one hot air balloon shot of his helium soul, and to watch it lift from the ground to the sound of morning birds, to the skin of the sky, and see the ridiculous vastness of it all. Or if you are like me as a child, to remain amongst the trees and let the spirit of the forest bleed into me, such that whatever poetry was growing inside is tentacled with the branches that carry my ancestors' breasts, their chests, and their shoulders, the size of baobab trees. When I heard my carpentry teacher passed away, a sudden sadness put a chainsaw to his memory. By all accounts, he was a good man, a man of iron discipline. But to us forest lovers, this man was no god. We had seen trees that towered above him. He was no emperor. The trees had seen his naked soul. But when I heard that he died, something put a chainsaw so deep into his memory, and I heard the loud scream at the root of it, and eventually it crashed with a thunderous silence in the depths of the forest. I haven't been there since, but I walked back to see where it lies today with this poem. So these are the things I never got to say to you, Mr. Wayne, my carpentry teacher. I loved trees. I woke up in the morning to climb a tree in the middle of the front yard, dead center of one of the tiniest spaces in the world. There lived a fig tree so majestic I thought it lived part of its days in the heavens. I thought somewhere in the sky sat this smiling large woman called God, and that she let the tree sit in between her thighs and braided the sweet fruit of that fig tree into his afro puffs. I loved trees. And when they cut that tree around the same time that you started teaching me, you were dead to me. Your classroom became the workshop of the devil. To miseducate a child is to tell them that beauty can only come from destroying the things that you love. That certain things can only be pieced together by breaking their spirits. In a classroom, this very second, there is a child yearning to learn that puppetry is not geometry, that tap dancing in the sky is not astronomy, that studying insects is silly since yellow jackets do not sell in the stock market, and that their ancestors were not the same voices they heard in the forest, in the songs of their roots, the same ones whose tongues you urged us to chop into pieces and stop their poetry mid-sentence. Zomkhonto. The one thing that my grandmother was famed for is his love for children. And the love I just spoke about going against my carpentry teacher. My carpentry teacher would have never known how much my grandma was the one that made me love trees. But the one thing she would have known for certain is that children should not be in war at all. Children in war are the most hurt people on the planet, and we seem to act like it doesn't matter. So this would have been my grandmother talking about 3 orphans from our current war. 3 orphans. Placing bets on who amongst them will wake up alive the next day. Each placing a coin inside the cracked piggy bank that was rattled by a passing armored tank just yesterday on its way to deliver death on a silver platter. So the youngest child swears it won't be him that dies because he can fit into the smallest crevices beneath the rubble. The eldest is unsure because he's always looking for trouble and might be outside stoning that same army tank, dreaming it were made of glass, hurling stones as if they were grenades fashioned by a vengeful god. The middle kid, she is the prayerful one. She first clutches her coin tightly in her palms until its net worth cannot breathe, suffocating its will to bury anything else except life and freedom. Suffocating every will to buy anything else except life and freedom. The other night she prayed for rain and it accidentally rained bombs. So nothing can be planted anymore besides landmines. The other kids beg her to hurry up and place her bed because they have been impatient with this God who ain't shown up just yet, perhaps up there gambling with the devil to see who wins hearts in this bloody war. So the waiting begins. 3 kids with a gambling problem, which took hold of them the night father left with what looked like a rifle and neighbor came back. From that moment on, they knew the cards he was dealt. Because in every war, greedy men gamble with the lives of the innocent, settling a precedent for 3 orphan kids to unearth a piggy bank and cast lots on who might end up in the Grim Reaper's frying pan. And the middle kid, she knows there is a price to pay for every coin that is placed on the heads of the living. So she grips hers in her palm as if to squeeze all of the value out of it so that there is no way that death could ever benefit. But that doesn't stop the other 2 kids from throwing a fit, because how can a prayer be so long? Did she not pray for rain and it rained bombs? Did she not see mother shot dead for raising the alarm? What is she praying for right now? And as she wraps up, she picks up the piggy bank, places her coin inside it, then smashes it on the ground. Kabate. So those children that we mirror in ourselves and in our guilt of doing anything about it. I try to mirror my guilt through this poem written as a letter to my son. Guendota Nayan, my son. I wish you mountains that stoop down and crumble the tufts of hair on their crown to form beach sand for the shores that this world will not stumble into and dare to pollute. Where the music of ancient flutes is trapped in shells that populate its blanket of pebbles and stones, which when thrown against the surface of the ocean, with each bouncing motion whistle back the secrets of the snails that died inside of them carrying hell on their backs and heaven inside of their hearts. Those said to have slowed down deliberately and sacrificed themselves so their shells can become refuge for the songs whose melodies are now known for guiding the bruised hips of lost slave ships back home. My son, I wish you to speak bright words the way light was named, with sound in attendance, and that I live long enough for the chance to tell you the story of how light and sound learned to dance together for the first time, trapping the universe in 1,000,000,000 light years of rhythm. I wish that as you whisper your own name, you believe it, that each letter is a feather inside the largest wing to ever horse the wind, and that when you fly, you are not distracted fighting that wind, but just enjoying in the area of view. My son, Jota Nayam, I want to take all of the insults of this world on your behalf, so that you find half of the world's untruths about black boys already shelved in a bunker somewhere. I would have walked back and forth through time to collect each falsehood and hold it captive in the underworld, not to burn a single one, but to remind you that another generation would soon need you to collect the other half. Make sure the collection is complete. Then have a bonfire and invite the neighbors, all singing together, screaming, "Fuck a racist!" My son, Dr. Nayam, I wish your teenage eyes will take long walks inside the hallways of histories begging to be written, and that those that die gritting their teeth while holding onto olive branches can see you plant seeds and be proud. And that seeing you hunger to know more disarms their spirits and charms them into forgiving the trees from which the spears that dug into their chests were carved. My son, I wish you the rarest form of love, the one that plays catch with itself, throwing boomerang kisses at the sky, knowing the love will come back, glowing with the remnants of dying stars, and that each tiny sparkle will hustle its way back into the sky and become a fully blown sun. My son, I want you to know that the hourglass will always be a desert full of seconds, ticking away until you're brave enough to shatter that glass and find water. Because that's what I wish for you. I wish you water to flow towards your future, like hip-hop, like poetry. I wish you an elephant's memory so that you remember to forget what they did to me. Write that debt to ancestry. Find your identity. But more than anything, my son, I want you to remember that you are royalty. Zomkhonto. And this poem is so dear to me because it has always been the one that comes after what I said about my son. This was given by a friend of mine when his daughter turned 9 years old. He had no money, he had nothing to give to his daughter, and he said, "Hold up, go and tell her something that would be the greatest gift." And this is what I wrote to his daughter, whose name is Aman. Your father said I should write you a poem with feathers in mind, meant to be stitched together by time into the most beautiful bird the forest could ever find. And the wonderful thing is that you get to choose whatever color this bird might be. Take your time. Because this world loves to choose colors for black girls, right down to their favorite dress, as if someone chose to second guess if they needed to be blessed, not knowing that the ends of their souls are rainbows, and that heaven still uses those ends as ribbons to tie presents for the most well-behaved of angels. Amani. Amani in Arabic means wish. Amani in Swahili means peace. So I wish you peace. And as parents, we always hope that our children do not learn too young why they need peace. But even then, I pray that if the world ever made you search for a peace of mind, that you remember to think only of your name, and that your mind will recognize its echo and remain calm, remain peaceful. Your father said I should write a poem made of diamond-crusted wings, and to tell you that the worst that you can do is make eagles blind when you take to the sky, but that you do not be afraid to fly. Because this poem was written with feathers in mind, meant to be stitched together into the most beautiful bird that the forest could ever find. And the wonderful thing is that you get to choose this morning song. Take your time. Because this world loves to choose songs for black girls as if their ears cannot make out for themselves the ebony skin of melody, as if they haven't been the fortune tellers of the greatest dances to ever trap the human body and spirit. I say, create your own music, Amani. Find your dance floor and own it. Become the lyrics to the song of your own destiny. Amani, your name means wish in Arabic and peace in Swahili. As you blow out your 9 candles, I wish your greatest wish, the light of day. May your dreams find the peace of mind to come true. May you shine so bright that light accidentally flows into the world around you, brightening your day, brightening our day. Happy birthday.
Wow. What an amazing set. Thank you so much. Agreed. What an amazing night. Thank you for our 3 featured poets. You all came, you all delivered, and I had a great time. I hope you all had a great time too. And we're gonna take a breath now. Move right into our open mic. We do have